Drones are invading America, and the Biden administration is telling us nothing. Mark Zuckerberg and big tech seem to be loving Donald Trump. Plus, ABC News is forced to pay millions. All that and more. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour.
And God bless the United States of America.
Okay, friends, welcome to the show. Happy Monday. I hope you had a great weekend. If you're new to the show, thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to start with the massive number of drone sightings that have been occurring in recent weeks, most notably in the Northeast and states like New Jersey. What is happening is incredible, and there is very little information coming from federal officials. This weekend, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, the guy who for nearly 4 years said our border was secure, he was interviewed on ABC News and had this to say about the growing concern over these car-sized drones which are appearing night after night after night.
There's no question that people are seeing drones, and I want to assure the American public that we in the federal government have deployed additional resources, personnel, technology to assist the New Jersey State Police in addressing the drone sightings. Some of those drone sightings are, in fact, drones. Some are manned aircraft that are commonly mistaken for drones, and we do see duplicative reporting. But there's no question that drones are being sighted.
That was a whole lot of nothing. Mayorkas says that some are just manned aircraft, small planes. White House National Security spokesman John Kirby said the same thing the other day, and it's useless information. It's like saying, hey, most of those zombies you see in your neighborhood at night are just regular people in makeup. Most? Some? Okay, what about the real zombies? That's what concerns me. We don't care about small planes. We care about the dramatic increase in drone activity in these areas that started just a few weeks ago. On the program, Mayorkas was shown a recent post from President-elect Trump who said that the government needs to tell the American people what's going on or shoot the drones down. Here's the response.
Well, we are aware of the drone sightings, as I've said. I think there are more than 8,000 drones flown every day in the United States. With respect to the ability to incapacitate those drones, we are limited in our authorities. We have certain agencies within the Department of Homeland Security that can do that, and outside our department. But we need those authorities expanded as well.
So, they do have the authority, but are doing nothing and saying nothing. That's the reality. Montville, New Jersey Mayor Mike Gosali was interviewed this week, and he detailed what he learned following a law enforcement security briefing. He said he had to travel 2 hours for the briefing, go through 2 checkpoints, wait 45 minutes, and then learn this.
What they said is, before you leave, we will tell you everything that we know. And I quote, it's nothing. We don't know where they're coming from, where they're going to. What we know is that they are about a size of a small car, and they hover for about 6 hours. But and they don't have any frequency that they can catch. So tell your residents that they're safe, as far as we know, but we don't know anything else.
This sounds so much like the Biden debacle regarding the Chinese spy balloon. The Biden administration did nothing. It just let the balloon float across the country, saying nothing, while the balloon gathered intelligence. Something is going on here. The feds are quick to say that this is not the work of a foreign government. So then what is it? If it's an American operation, then Americans have the right to know what's going on. Here's former Deputy National Security Advisor KT McFarland.
One thing that people have talked about is, are these drones flying so low that they're trying to detect either emissions? They're flying at night, they're not flying during the day. Are they trying to find something like, radiation emissions, chemical emissions? We do know that there remain unaccounted for nuclear weapons that came out of the Soviet Union at the fall of the Soviet Union. We also are worried about Syrian chemical weapons. Has Syria's been taken over? What happened to those chemical weapons? Have they not all been secured and destroyed?
I've heard that theory a number of times in recent days, but it's only a theory. If the government is looking for radiation signatures, then that is a serious matter. If they are just running some kind of training, then go for it. But the Biden administration's silence and complete lack of transparency is unacceptable. All right, next, let's talk about the left-wing tech love fest with Trump. But first, If you're new to the show or haven't subscribed yet, regardless of platform, just search out my name, hit that subscribe button, make sure notifications are turned on. That way you can follow the show and help us grow. Okay, next let's talk about the big tech pandering that we are seeing from the likes of Mark Zuckerberg and others toward now President-elect Trump. Zuckerberg recently pledged $1 million toward the Trump inauguration, and others have as well.
Already, Amazon plans to make a $1 million donation to Trump's inaugural fund ahead of Jeff Bezos' visit to Mar-a-Lago next week. Google's CEO is also reportedly meeting with Mr. Trump at Mar-a-Lago. Even OpenAI CEO Sam Altman will be donating, you guessed it, $1 million to Trump's inaugural fund. Oh, and by the way, Mark Zuckerberg's Meta announced that they're doing the very same.
Now, one of the people I've enjoyed listening to in recent weeks is Democrat fundraiser Lindy Lee. She's been giving no-nonsense commentary on the complete beatdown suffered by the Democrats in this election cycle.
I think, unfortunately, the Democratic Party has a stench of loser written all over the party, and I'm sorry. And I'm speaking as a Democrat myself. This brings me no joy to say it, but I feel like the Democrats are going to be consigned to the wilderness for at least the next 4 to 8 years. And Jeff Bezos is probably thanking his lucky stars that he withheld that endorsement. And they're doing everything they can now to continue the détente.
The stench of a loser is definitely right. The Democrats were rebuked from top to bottom, and it makes you wonder if these tech CEOs have seen the light, if they're afraid of retribution, or if they are just looking out for their bottom line.
Is there a shift to the right happening organically?
Kevin, that's such a great point. I don't think it's just the business world. I think it's across the country. People are fed up, and they realize that Biden and Harris, they lied to us for the past 4 years about the cognitive state of our president, and they failed on immigration.
Okay, here's where I think Lee takes things a bit too far, maybe too optimistic. Jeff Bezos not letting the Washington Post endorse Harris caused a huge uproar at the company. Poll after poll shows that big tech companies are dominated by left-wing employees. They absolutely hate that Trump won. Now, I'd love to see an actual shift to the right from these people, but for now, what I want to see is the realization from these business owners that catering to conservatives as well as liberals is good for business. Conservatives can't be censored or blocked or throttled or shadow banned. They will go elsewhere. And now there are more places where conservatives have a voice. They don't need legacy media. They don't need Facebook. If these tech leaders want to continue to be in business, they need to reach out to all Americans. Their employees may hate it, but then again, Elon Musk fired 80% of the Twitter workforce, and he's doing just fine. Next, ABC News, because of the actions of George Stephanopoulos, has been ordered to pay President-elect Trump $15 million plus another $1 million in legal fees following the settlement brought against the host and the network for Stephanopoulos' repeated false claims that the president-elect had been found civilly liable for raping writer E. Jean Carroll. As reported by the Associated Press during an interview with Representative Nancy Mace back in March, Stephanopoulos wrongly claimed that Trump had been, quote, found liable for rape and, quote, defaming the victim of that rape, end quote. Neither verdict involved a finding of rape as defined under New York law. Here's Judge Andrew Napolitano with some analysis.
This is what's called libel per se, when you accuse a person of committing a crime which they did not commit. But because he said rape, which the jury expressly rejected in that case, this is not a matter of knowledge of falsehood or reckless disregard for the truth, which is normally the standard in a defamation case when the plaintiff, Donald Trump, is a public person. This is that narrow area where he doesn't have to prove that the statement was defamatory. Because it accuses him of a crime, it's defamatory per se.
ABC will be paying the $15 million to the Trump Presidential Library, and the network also issued an apology. Here's the reaction over at MSNBC.
Shout out to the standards department. Okay, standards is always making sure that we are keeping the bar high and substantive and accurate. But what George Stephanopoulos said in that interview, I mean, it seems to hold up with what the judge said after the fact. And now his news organization and himself, George Stephanopoulos himself, is paying $1 million of his own money to the lawyers, and ABC at $15 million. It's insane.
Accusing without accusing. As these legacy news outlets continue to bash Trump, they need to realize that Trump and conservatives in general will no longer just roll over. We have had enough, and we'll be fighting back.
They should understand the significance of what George Stephanopoulos said. and George, just like us,
Yeah.
have to comply with standards. We can give opinions, but you cannot accuse a person of a crime unless they've been convicted of that crime. Otherwise, you bear the consequences.
Any bets on if MSNBC or any other these outlets will learn their lesson? Or will they keep pushing until someone pushes back? And next, here's some rapid fire headlines from around the country. First, Joe Biden made a rare public statement by addressing Democrat Party members at their holiday reception on Sunday. As reported by The Hill, Biden told the audience, quote, "We passed historic legislation, laws that are literally building the strongest economy in the world," end quote. Biden added, quote, "There's not a world leader you can name for me who hadn't told me at these G7, G20 meetings, all these meetings I meet with them, that they wouldn't trade places with us in a heartbeat," end quote. Well, of course. And at the end of Biden's term, you see more and more messaging like this, that the American economy is so good, it's just better than everyone else. It's not a good marker. Next, notorious pollster Ann Selzer is speaking out after her woefully inaccurate Iowa poll sent left-wing media on fire just days before the presidential election. Selzer's poll had Harris leading Trump by 3 points. What actually happened was that Trump won Iowa by over 10 points. As reported by the New York Post, Selzer penned an op-ed in the Des Moines Register saying that she's been getting bombarded with criticism and questions. In response, she mused whether her poll itself may have shifted the state for Trump. Give me a break. You don't shift a state by a net 13 points in just a day. Selzer says she did not manipulate the data or engage in any kind of psyops, but did reveal that she'll be pursuing, quote, other ventures in the future. Finally, retiring Senator Mitt Romney was on CNN this weekend speaking about the election and the future of the Republican Party. When asked about Trump's nominees, Romney said this.
Well, a very famous book talked about Abraham Lincoln choosing a team of rivals. This is a team of people who are very, very different, extraordinarily different backgrounds, different perspectives on issues, in some cases, I think, even than the president. So an unusual collection of individuals, not the people I would have chosen, but I lost. He won, all right? I'd like to revisit that and win, but I didn't get that chance.
Quote, "Not the people I would have chosen," end quote. I think that sums up everything right there. It's the difference between the establishment and America first. Supporting a bureaucracy versus returning power to the people. Romney did acknowledge that Trump helped transform the Republican Party into the party of the middle-class voter, and that's a great admission. It's just too bad that so many in the establishment actually can't relate to the middle-class voter at all. Friends, that's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember, today's show's one sheet is available to Patreon supporters using the link in the description. The one sheet gives you the links to all the videos and stories used on today's show, so you can dive even deeper into each issue. And with that, our next show will be Friday evening at the usual time. Until then, I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour. All right, friends, thanks again for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And before you go, please hit that subscribe button above. Once you do, tell your friends, share it, spread the word about the 13-minute news hour so we can keep growing. And for more great content, check out these videos right here, and I'll see you next time.